So my name is Daniel Lundgren and I am the Safety and Compliance Manager here at AXKID, which means I'm responsible for basically all the crash testing that we do, all the homologations, certifications, and I'm also driving the research within AXKID.
Oh my God, you're living my my best life possible.
Yeah. I really enjoy my work. I've been doing this for over 10 years now, and I've been with AXKID for all the time. And I've really been with the company to see how it grows and see the development we can do with the products and the research. And it gives me energy every day to be here and work with this stuff.
Crash testing, we went to a Plus test once, and we find it so fascinating, even though it's such a short experience that you get, but I guess you get a lot of that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. People keep asking why would I just not go and buy a car seat for like 200 euro?
Yeah.
Why would you send me to buy something that is 800 or 500 when they all look the same and they all have the green, the orange label? So what is it that people pay for when they buy cars?
Yeah, so basically there's a huge difference in car seats and car seats. If you go for the more expensive ones, normally they are produced in a more premium manner, so they have better materials, better comfort and better features. But that's not all, because we also talk about the safety aspects. So for the R129 regulation, or the normal E-approval as you call it, that's the basic level of safety you can have for a car seat. It's the easiest crash testing that we can do with the lowest speed and everything. But if you go for a premium rear-facing car seat that has been Plus tested as well, then you get another level of security, because the Plus test is so much tougher to pass than the normal homologation testing. They run it in higher speeds, shorter braking distance, which gives it a much higher impact violence. And I'm not talking about like a small difference, I'm talking like a huge difference. It's so much tougher to pass the Plus test than the normal homologation testing. So to be able to do that, you really need to spend time on development, you really need to spend time on premium materials, high strength steel, high strength plastics, all of these construction materials, and you need to spend a lot of time in developing the seat with these materials to get a good weight to strength ratio, because you can build the seat like a really heavy one, but then you can't use it in the vehicle because it's too complicated to use and it's too heavy. So you need to find the balance between a good comfort, a good weight of the car seat, but also strong enough to withstand the forces in the toughest test in the world. So yeah, there really is a difference between car seats and car seats for sure.
It sounds, when you speak and being in Sweden, it's like so easy for you to understand the safety, the components of the in-car child safety. And why is that? What is so special about Sweden? So
Sweden, we have a tradition of rear-facing for a long time. The fact is that rear-facing car seat was actually invented in Sweden. So it was invented in 1964 by the professor Bertil Ahlman at Chalmers University here in Sweden, or here in Gothenburg actually, where it's just a couple of kilometers away from our office. And he was inspired by the NASA project, where he saw where the astronauts, how they were positioned in the rocket during the launch. So they were positioned in a specific way to spread out the forces from the accelerations over the whole body, over the back of the body. And he saw that if we're gonna talk about safety for children in cars, maybe we should learn from NASA, because everyone knows that NASA, they are geniuses, right? So he took the same principles and adapted that to a car seat in the vehicle. And in 1964 he made his first crash test with a rear-facing car seat, and well, basically they saw that performance was superior to anything else that ever did. So from that point on, we have a tradition of rear-facing in Sweden, and we have done it for all the time. So it's not that Swedish people might be more educated. We have a culture of going rear-facing. Everyone knows that you should go rear-facing to a minimum of 4 or 5 years, even longer. So it's not a discussion to go forward-facing earlier than that. So, and everyone is talking about the same thing, and we have a united organization for all the car seat manufacturers, all the vehicle manufacturers, all the insurance companies, all the consumer organizations in Sweden. We have this group where we talk together, and we have written down an agreement that we should promote rear-facing to a minimum of 4 or 5 years of age, and everyone is doing the same thing. We're saying the same thing, we give the same information, and we try to educate the parents on the true safety for the children. So with a united voice and united point of view, I think it's easy for the parents to do the right choice.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot of companies, though, that do share the same value, still have some toddler car seats that would be able to forward face. But you don't. Some years ago, you discontinued, or you announced that you're not going to produce.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was back in 2016 or 15, something like that. We actually made the decision to stop producing any combination seats, as we call it, which basically is a car seat that you can use both forward-facing and rearward-facing. And we did it because we believe in a good seat, a good performance for the actual case. So if you have a combination seat, there will always be some compromises to be able to work with all the installation methods. So using it forward-facing might not be as strong as in the rear-facing position, of course. And normally when you have a combination seat, you also use it with the internal harness or like a shield system. And yeah, in terms of safety, that's just not a good way of going, because when you restrain it with an internal harness in a forward-facing position, you restrain the body to the car seat and to the vehicle, but the head is still freely to move. So what you do is that you restrain the body and put even more forces on the neck. So we believe that you should go rear-facing for as long as possible, and then you should have a proper forward-facing car seat, like a booster seat, because they perform better in testing when the child is old enough. And if you still fit in a car seat with internal harness in a forward-facing position, if you can still fit in that car seat, you can still use it rear-facing, because it takes as much space in the vehicle. So my question to the parents who use this is, what do you gain from going forward-facing with internal harness? It's still the same seat, takes the same space in the vehicle. You don't really gain anything, but you reduce the safety for the child. So in my book, it just doesn't make sense. You should just keep going rear-facing until you are old enough to move to the forward-facing position. Then you should have a proper booster seat instead, because they perform as intended. They perform well in crash testing. So yeah, for me, it's a no-brainer.
Parents, as you also know, you went to 10 countries, 15 countries to check that. In Bulgaria, it's so important that the kid has room for the legs, because where would the legs go? You know, that's the biggest problem on earth. And also the second one, still connected to this one, is, okay, you're always talking about front-end collision, and then it all makes sense for the rearward-facing car seat, but what would happen in a rear-end collision? Like, it would break. The kid would break, the car seat would break. What would you say to that?
I heard the rumors before. So, well, basically, my first question back to you is then, if you watch children play on the floor with the toys, how are they sitting? Are they sitting with the legs straight out in a normal sitting position? No, they don't. They sit with them crossed over. They sit with them spread out in different ways, and that's because that's more comfortable for them. They would like to sit like that, because they are, to be honest, I'm a little bit older now. I'm not as flexible as I was when I was younger, but children are way more flexible than us adults. So when they sit in the vehicle and have the feet up on the vehicle back and bend the knees, that's not uncomfortable for them. That's actually a good position for them, and they don't complain about it. It's the perception from the parents. We think it's a discomfort for the child because we could not sit in that position, but the children themselves doesn't think like this. And we have actually done some testing with this, and when you ask children about the comfort in car seats, it depends on how you ask them. So if you ask a child in a rear-facing car seat, oh, isn't this a bad comfort for you with the legs up here? They normally say, yeah, I don't like this. But if you ask them the other way around and say, oh, how good is it that you can have your legs up here? Then they will most likely say, yeah, it's perfect, it's awesome. So it depends a little bit how you ask them. But trust me, they are not in discomfort. They like to sit like that. And also, if you think about it, when you sit in your vehicle yourself, you always have the legs down to the floor with the knees bent. You never sit with the feet like this, because that's also uncomfortable. So it's not a problem for the children to do like that.
Yeah, it's really a joke when parents say, "Okay, my baby is now outgrown; it's rear-facing car seat because
they need to stretch out the leg.
It's already touching." And I'm like, "Okay, when you turn it, how would it sit?
Yeah,
it would actually bend."
Exactly. So if you turn them too early and have a booster seat instead, normally the length of the seat is much longer than a rear-facing. So that means if you turn them too early, they will most likely sit with the legs straight out. And that's actually dangerous because, first of all, they will get discomfort in the legs because of the pressure points. So they will not be as comfortable for a long time and they will start to complain about it. And the other thing that's happening is that they will start to slouch down in the seat because they want to bend the knees over the edge. And when you start to slouch down, the belt will come up on the soft abdomen and on the stomach, and you're not in a safe position anymore. So when you put your child in a booster seat and they start to slouch down, it's too early. They should still go rear-facing.
What would you say to those who are... A lot of parents would look for a car seat that has ISOFIX because it's safer. They would also look for the turning option because it's so much easier to put the child in. What would you say to that?
So ISOFIX or belt installation, in terms of crash testing, is no difference. They both perform really good. So the benefit with ISOFIX is it reduces the misuse quite a lot because it's easier to install and it's pretty clear how you do it. You just connect to the ISOFIX and you put down the support leg and then you're fine. But if you understand how a belt installed seat works, it's actually as safe as the ISOFIX. So you can pull it hard, you can pull it tight, and you can get in even firmer installation of the car seat. It will be more rigid in the vehicle. So in that perspective, I say both are equally safe. But ISOFIX might be easier to use, but belt install might be a little bit more flexible because you can use it in all positions and in the front seat as well if you want that. And the turning option, that is a good feature when the child is quite young, like 1 year or 1.5 years. After that, the legs are actually protruding from the car seat, so the legs are a little bit longer than the car seat. And that gets a problem because when you want to turn them into the vehicle, they hit the frame of the vehicle with the legs. So you either have to pull them up while you turn them, or people might actually turn them forward facing instead, because when you turn them forward facing, you don't hit the legs in the frame. And for me, that's a problem because they turn them forward facing too early for an inconvenience that doesn't really exist. And to be honest, when children are 1.5, 2 years of age, they want to do things by themselves. They are proud about doing things by themselves. So they want to climb into the seat and they want to position themselves into the seat. So you don't really need that feature after that age. And as we know, you should go rear facing for as long as possible, but a minimum 4 or 5 years of age. So do you have a long period where the child will actually climb in by itself, and then it's better to prioritize a good car seat for that time range. So yeah, it's a good feature for the really small ones, but it's a feature that it's not going to be used that much after a couple of months actually.
Any tips on how do you do it in Sweden when you have to take somebody else's car or go by taxi? How do you usually do it here? Because in Bulgaria you don't really, I think that there is one taxi company in the capital and that's it. That might have one car seat available. I don't know what kind of car seat, of course, but how do you usually do it? Because we have a lot of parents who wonder what to do.
Yeah, so I think we have a benefit of living in Sweden because we know about safety. So normally when you call for a cab or a taxi, you can actually ask for a car seat, and then they might not have it in the vehicle. Then they will go to the office to pick up a car seat for you before they come to you. So you have to wait a little bit longer, but normally they could offer a car seat for you actually. Or otherwise, I know a lot of parents actually bring their own car seat in the taxi as well. Just to be on the safe side and have a car seat that they know how it works. So yes, we do use car seats even in taxis.
Lucky you guys.
It's Sweden. We do a little bit different. But I think it's a good example.
It is very good example. Tell us about the collaboration on car seats for kids with disabilities. That was so interesting to learn yesterday. Yeah,
that's actually a new collaboration. We've been working for over 1 year now, 1.5 years almost. And we recently, I think it's 2 months ago, we launched the first project. the product, and it's basically a mini kit 4 that has been adapted for children with special needs, and we did it together with a company in Germany called Hernick, which are specialized in rehabilitation for rehabilitation seats for children with special needs. So the difference that we made here is that we took a car seat that we know pass all the plus testing, have good performance in all the testing, and it's tested up to 36 kilos. It's really wide, so you can use it for really as long as possible. And that was a perfect match for them, because they have a problem with children who are a little bit older but still need a good support in the vehicle. And they can't really find a good forward-facing solution for them because they can't sit upright on their own, and they need some extra support. And when we got in contact with each other, we saw that, okay, here we have a rear-facing car seat to 36 kilos. It will solve a lot of problems for them. So we started working together with their experience in how to support children with special needs, and our experience in crash testing and performance. And we came up with a lot of different adaptations to the car seat. And then we actually went ahead and did a full R129 approval for the car seat, which is a bit unusual for these kinds of products. Normally, you sell them as a medical device, you only do 1 or 2 crash tests, and then you say it's fine, and then you sell it as a medical device. But this time we actually made it different. So we made the full approval, which means that we did all the crash testing you need for the homologation with all the adaptations. So the test matrix was actually even larger than it is for a normal car seat, because we need to have all the adaptations in all different combinations and do all the testing with that to verify the performance for that one. So it's really a tested and approved seat, and you can use it. You can have all the adaptations, whatever you need. So the seat will be adapted for each and every child for their special needs.
I wonder, like, how do you get? It's pretty new company, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we founded in 2009. So
exactly, it's less than what, 20 years.
Yeah.
You're still into production and innovation of car seats, but then you started the project with the Hernick, and then you started a project for the medical care in Sweden. So why?
Why? I mean, the reason is that we want to protect all the children, not only some children. We want to protect all the children. And this is also, as I talked a little bit on yesterday on the conference, that normal range for car seats, for example, they are advertising that they go rear-facing to a certain age, but we also know that they are a bit too small, so they don't really cover the full range of the car seats. So what we do is that we take it to the next level. We test it for the full range. We make the car seats a little bit higher and a little bit wider, so we can fit all children inside them, not just the average child, but actually the largest child for that age range. And that's something that's important for us, because safety should not be a privilege for the one who can use it, can afford it, or can fit within the car seat. The safety for children should be a requirement for everyone, for all children. So it's just natural for us to look for other projects as well outside of the normal business. So, for example, special needs, or the ambulance, as we also heard yesterday. So, yeah, for us it's just natural.
And having said that, what is the most ridiculous thing that you have ever heard or seen around the markets?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some crazy products. I mean, we've seen some like booster seat that doesn't boost at all, just adapts the belt. We have seen some clips that clips together with the belt and say this is safer than a normal booster seat. We have seen I don't know, such weird things on the market. I don't really understand how this can. I don't really understand how someone can come up with these solutions and say, this is a better solution than a proper rear-facing car seat. It's like, yeah.
Have you seen? There is very popular a headband.
Yeah.
That would prevent the head from falling when the kid falls asleep.
I cannot recommend it. No. Well, basically, I understand the purpose is that they wanna have the head in a good position so that when they fall asleep. The problem is that it will affect the performance in crash testing. It's marketing as it will break off during impact, but we also see in videos online that it really doesn't. It's too firm, so it sticks in position. I also seen some marketing, some advertising that it might even improve the crash testing. and that's just not really true. Maybe you can get it to work with a specific crash test dummy in a specific impact with a straight direction. Maybe you can get it to work, but in reality, children are not acting exactly as the crash test dolls. You have an impact from the side, maybe you have a rollover and things like that. And the worst case is that can happen is that it slides up or down, and you maybe have it on the neck or something like that. And it can really, the neck is very sensitive. It's very crucial to protect the neck, and having something like this that actually can affect the performance of the neck, yeah, it's just sensitive. It's, yeah, it may affect the testing in a negative way. And we also seen, there was a report in UK for a couple of years ago when there actually was a child who had one of these products on, and we had an accident and the car rolled over. So the child was protected by the car seat, so it survived the impact, but it later actually suffocated from this because the band slipped down on the neck and it suffocated and actually lost its life. So yeah, no. To have a good sleeping position, you need a better recline on the car seat. Maybe you need some inlay, something like that, so you really can push the hip forward and have the back and the head falling backwards. But it's possible. It's perfectly possible, and we do it all day, every day with the car seat. So that's a much better solution. Go rear facing with enough inclination, and then there's no problem with sleeping heads anymore.
The parents somehow are not convinced with the rear facing because they're for some reason more afraid of rear end collision. So what happens with the kid that is rear facing at the rear end collision?
Yeah, okay, so first there are two very important things that we need to discuss before we actually talk about the performance. So first of all, if you're hit from behind with a car, the other vehicle behind you is actually experiencing a frontal impact. And also if you're hit from the side, the other vehicle is also experiencing a frontal impact. So that means that frontal impacts are the absolute most common crashes. In every accident, at least one of the vehicles has been in a frontal impact, and the other one might be in a frontal or rear impact. So what we really need to do is to protect for the impact that's most common, of course, because that's most likely to happen. So we need to focus on the frontal impact because that's the most common one. And the second thing we need to understand is also in a rear impact, the relative speed between the vehicles are so much lower. Normally, the first car is either standing still or moving in the same direction. So the relative speed between the vehicles are, if the car is standing still, the relative speed is half. And if it's moving forward, it's even less. So even if you are on the highway and you're driving like 100 kilometers per hour, the impact violence is still half than if you have a frontal impact. So you start to realize that the forces acting on the child and the forces acting on the car seats are so much lower in a rear impact than it is in a frontal impact. So why should we focus on the rear impact when we really need to protect them from the frontal impact? Because this is where we have the dangerous forces, the high forces and the dangerous impacts. So that's the first one. And then rear facing is superior. You can't really compare it to anything else. In the frontal impacts, the rear facing is so much safer. But if you have a rear facing car seat and you are hit from behind, the car seat will, you can say that it's more like a forward facing car seat in a frontal impact. It will act in the same way. So it will kind of lift a little bit from the seat, but the child will be restrained by the harness and protected by the car seat itself. So if it's an isofix seat, you have the rebound bar that goes up on the vehicle seat. It will prevent the rotation of the car seat. And if it's a belted, you normally have the tether straps to the floor, which is really firmly attached, so it basically doesn't move anything at all. And yeah, it's perfectly fine. I can actually tell you a secret, because rear-facing car seats, they need to be tested in a rear impact situation for the homologation, for the E certification. But forward-facing car seats, they don't have to be. So if you're using a forward-facing car seat instead, you have no idea of the performance for that one, because it's not required to test it like that. But the rear-facing car seat, it has been tested in a rear impact, and it has been approved. So you know for sure that it's actually safe. So in terms of that, I think that rear-facing, even in a rear impact, it's still a good, still a better option.
It is.
Yeah, the rear thing is always going to be a better option. That's just the facts.
We don't get why.
Yeah.
Why are there even other seats available on the market apart from those that would keep your kid up to 125, 36 kilos or whatever even higher available one day?
Yeah, I don't understand either.
Everything else that is out there.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we have a regulation which allows for facing seats for younger children, and unfortunately, as long as you have the option, some people will use it. That's a pity to me. I think if we had a higher limit for the age of rear facing according to the law, that would be much better, because then we were forcing parents to do the right choice. Now we have to educate them and convince them to do the right choice. But today they still have the choice, and yeah, that can be a problem.
Okay, if you were having a kid, you do crash tests, and you have all the knowledge. What age would you turn your kid forward facing?
I would keep it rear facing for as long as it fits in the car seat, for sure. I have done so much testing. I have seen all this testing, and as long as I can fit it in the rear facing car seat, it will stay in that direction, for sure. And I would definitely go for the larger one. So, for example, for the mini kid that goes all the way up to 36 kilos, I would definitely go for that one in the end, because it's the highest length on the back and the widest. So you could use that for up to almost 7 years. And yeah, definitely my choice. Even us adults as a passenger in a vehicle, we would also benefit from a rear-facing position. So yeah. It's just that sometimes the vehicles are designed as they are, so at the end it's not possible. But if we could, we would.